Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Nervous Nessie. Today is the first full day that I have in Boston. I slept in this morning a little bit later than I wanted to. Didn't really get good sleep last night. I went to bed early, but one of my dorm mates decided to take a phone call in the room that lasted forever. So it wasn't until almost midnight that I actually fell asleep. And then around 2 a.m., their phone went off and woke me up. And then they got up at 5 this morning and was making noise. So I did not get the best of sleep. But that is part of staying in a hostel. You are staying with other people and you cannot control their actions. But today I don't have anything officially planned except explore Boston. Right now I am sitting in Boston Commons, which is this giant park. Luckily it's only about a block or two away from the hostel, so that's convenient. Wanting to make it over to Beacon Hill and explore some of the more historical places in Boston today. Yeah, that's really all I kind of have planned. But the great thing is I am going to be taking all of you with me. So hopefully you enjoy Boston. There's a lot to see in Boston Commons, including a lot of various statues and monuments. Most of the monuments are historical in nature. So you can walk up and read about the history of Boston and what the monument itself is actually dedicated to. And once you get to the kind of center of the park, it's a little elevated here and you can get great skyline views of the city downtown area. From there, you can go down into the park, and they have a really pretty lake there. You can actually rent or pay to get onto a boat with other people and make a loop around the lake itself. There's also a really old cemetery inside the park itself that has a crypt underneath. You can't go inside the cemetery area, but it is pretty cool to get up close and look at all of the crypts underneath the cemetery. Throughout the park, there's also various ball areas where you can play baseball or basketball or tennis. So if you want a pretty area to play, then go to Boston Commons Park. Just north of Boston Commons is the community of Beacon Hill. It's known as a more affluent community and has cobblestone streets and a lot of very beautiful architecture for the buildings there. There's a section of Beacon Hill that has various local mom and pop shops where you can stop and eat or buy souvenirs. It does get quite crowded because it is kind of a tourist area, but there is a lot to see here. And between Beacon Hill and Boston Commons, there's also the Cheers bar, where the TV show Cheers was shot, and you can eat at the restaurant there as well. From Boston Commons and Beacon Hill, I went over to the Boston Public Library, and I forgot to shoot video of one half of the library, but as you can see, the architecture is really old and it's very beautiful. The cool thing about the Boston Public Library is it is free. You can just walk in off the street and explore. And half of the library does have the really old architecture and a lot of the really old books.
They do have a cafe there, and connecting that half of the library to the other half is an outdoor courtyard. There is more seating out there if you want to eat out there. There's beautiful architecture there as well, and statues. It's a great place to stop and take pictures, which is what I did. And then once you go over to the other side of the courtyard and go in that part of the building, the library completely changes. It turns into a contemporary, very modern architecture style. In this area, you can actually purchase books, and these are books that are on the market today. So it is a functioning library as well as a historic library. From the library, I continued exploring Boston and stumbled across the Granary, or maybe it's pronounced Granary, burial ground. As you can see, it is a very heavy tourist area. There are a lot of tombstones in this cemetery that are from the 1600s. This includes famous people like Paul Revere and John Hancock. So if you pass by this cemetery, make sure you go in and explore and see what other famous people you can find buried here. I made my way over to the Quincy Market, which from the outside it doesn't look that big, but once you get inside you realize exactly how huge the place is. There's a lot of different vendors there selling food. They're selling souvenirs, which I had already bought all the souvenirs that I had needed, but I still wanted to go through the market and explore. The market is not just one level. There's also levels outside that go downstairs, some even under the building, and the surrounding area has other vendors as well. If you're looking for a great place to grab a bite to eat, and maybe you're there with your family and everyone wants something different, the Quincy Market is a great option because there's something there for everyone. I wanted to check out the Boston Harbor, so I made my way over. Now, I've mentioned this in other videos, but when you see these monks trying to hand you bracelets or other trinkets, this is actually a scam, so you want to kind of steer clear of that. The area around the Boston Harbor is very pretty. It's got a lot of areas where you can sit and relax. And it's nice to be able to go all the way down to the water where you can sit and take in the Boston skyline from the water.
So I am sitting at one of the many parks that Boston has to offer. I am literally melting. I checked the weather and it says that it is 87, but that it feels like 90. I beg to differ. It feels like 100. I am sweating profusely, which is so gross. I feel so gross. Today I have walked, I do not even know how many miles. I have walked so much. Definitely not as much as I walked in Washington the first day, but I have covered many different neighborhoods that are around Boston. I covered all of Boston Commons, the park there. I went to Beacon Hill and walked around there. Made my way over to, I may say this wrong, Faneuil Hall. Walked around that area. I got some food because I had a donut for breakfast, but that didn't really hold me over and I was quite hungry. But I got some food there and I've just been walking around ever since. The whole downtown area, I've pretty much covered that. Went down to the water and walked around there, watched a few of the boats launch. And like I said, I didn't have anything planned today except simply explore, so check that one off. Right now, let me look on my phone. Right now it's 3 o'clock on the dot, and I feel so tired and gross that I kind of want to just go back to the hostel and take a shower and call it a day, but it's so early. I will say that all of the different parks that I've gone to, I have stopped, like I am doing right now, sit in the shade. It's a little bit of an overcast day. Sometimes the sun comes out a good bit, but I try to sit in the shade, take a break, just so I don't burn myself out too much. But basically what I'm doing is I'm making my way back toward the hostel and then going to explore a little bit more in that area. I really didn't get into Chinatown because I'm right on the edge of Chinatown. But so far I have seen some amazing things, ate some amazing food, and still have hours to go. So you can cover a lot of Boston in one day if you are up for the walk.